The equipment needed in this experiment is a conical flask, containers with solutions, a clamp stand, a burette clamp, a burette, a pipette, universal indicator, phenolphthalein, and a white towel. The solutions using this titration are hydrochloric acid, which is the acid, and sodium hydroxide, which is the base. The concentration of a basic solution can be determined by titrating it with the volume of standard acid solution required to neutralize it, and the standard acid solution has a known concentration. The purpose of a titration is a detection of the equivalence point, which is the point at which chemically equivalent amounts of reactants have been mixed. In a titration, a solution of known concentration, which is the titrant, is added to a solution of a substance being studied, which is the analyte. In an acid-base titration, the titrant is a strong base or a strong acid, and the analyte is an acid or base. For the safety of this experiment, it's important to take the following into consideration. When handling the solutions, it's important to handle them with care, as they can cause irritation to the skin if spilt. Therefore, you should wear safety glasses and goggles. It's also important to ensure that all glass should be handled carefully and not left near the edge of desks. When removing the burette off the wall, carefully pull both the top and the bottom of the burette towards you to avoid any damage. It's always good to practice using a pipette beforehand, so that when it comes to the real experiment you can be confident when handling the solutions. When you fill it up, you want the solution to reach the line, as shown here. We have dyed some water blue so that it's easier to see. When releasing the solution into the conical flask, you want to carefully dab the tip of the pipette onto the surface to ensure that there is no remaining liquid in the pipette. Before you begin the first step of the experiment, make sure that the valve is closed. You then want to put a funnel on top of the burette and a beaker underneath the tip. To prepare the burette, carefully rinse it with distilled water and open the valve to flush it out into the beaker. After you fill your container with the hydrochloric acid, you want to close the valve. As some water may still be at the tip of the burette, the acid is flushed through to ensure that the analyte, which in this case is the hydrochloric acid, is not diluted from the water. This way it doesn't matter if the solution is stuck, as we will be filling the burette with the same solution again. Even though it can help to fill the burette with the solution all the way up to the 0 mark, you don't have to, as long as you mind the volume to remember where exactly it was in level with. After filling your conical flask with the sodium hydroxide, you have to add a phenolphthalein, which results in you having a pink coloured solution. This will allow us to see the equivalence point, as both solutions are originally colourless. To begin the titration, you want to open the valve, and at first you can just let the analyte, which is a hydrochloric acid, pour normally, whilst also swirling the conical flask round gently. As the pink colour slowly gets weaker, you want to then slow the flow of the titrant down, and just use drops to add it to the conical flask. Once the solution is completely colourless after being swirled, then you can stop adding the analyte. Here you can see the 3 different levels, with the strong pink at the beginning of the titration, the weaker pink as more analyte has been added, and then finally the colourless solution as it has reached the equivalence point. Now to dispose of the solutions. Please ask your lab technicians how they would like the solution to be disposed of before you actually do it, but we are going to be using the same waste beaker as before. You can gently pour the solutions from the conical flasks and the beakers and the burette into it. An extra step is to add your universal indicator into the waste beaker, and after adding all your waste solutions, it should be neutral, which is green, meaning it is safe to dispose of. Then make sure to rinse the burette for the next person who wants to use it, and make sure to open the valve and put it upside down so that it drains properly.